on Sugar Spun Run, we'll be making a butter pecan cake. Hey Sugar Spun bakers, Sam here, and today I am so excited to be sharing another carefully tested, well-researched, and perfected recipe. Today we are making a 3-layer buttery butter pecan cake, and I think you are going to love this one, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, today's recipe begins on the stovetop where we are going to be browning 1 cup of unsalted butter. I found when developing this cake to get the best, most rich and buttery flavor, browning the butter was the way to go. So I'm going to go ahead and add 2 sticks of butter here, and I'm just going to turn the heat to low for now, or medium low. I don't want to melt it too fast is the key point here. We're just going to let this butter melt. This happens pretty quickly. All right, once our butter is melted, we're going to turn up the heat just a notch, just barely above medium, and we're going to stir this mixture pretty much non-stop, and you're going to notice that it'll sizzle and it'll pop and it'll crackle. That's exactly what we want to happen. What's happening is we're cooking out the water in this butter. We are encouraging the milk solids in the butter to brown and caramelize, which is what makes brown butter taste and smell so amazing. We don't want to burn our butter though, so just keep stirring, and I like to use a spatula for this because it's great for scraping the sides and bottom of the pan. I like to use a light colored pan when I do this because if I use a dark one like a cast iron, it can be difficult to see when the butter starts to brown, especially since this nice foam layer likes to form on top. So if you have a light colored pan, when you swirl, you can get a glimpse of if anything is browning or not. We have a lot of sizzling and popping going on, so I'm just swirling the butter and scraping the bottom. You will know this is done when that sizzling and popping starts to slow down and when you start to smell that toasty smell of browned butter, which I feel like we are almost there. Somebody needs to make a candle of this scent. Okay, so it's hard to see beneath all the foam, but hopefully you can tell we have some browning going on here. It might be a little hard to pick up on camera, but I have browning going on here. So now that I see that happening, I want to remove this from the pan, from the stovetop, and I have a heat-proof bowl here, and I'm going to just pour the butter into that bowl. Here, let me give you another look at this so you can see what I'm seeing. See there, as the spatula parts the foam, you can see that golden brown going on right there. So I'm going to add this into a heat-proof bowl, and I want all of those brown bits that I can get to go in there with that butter because that is what gives us our flavor. Now I pour it into a separate bowl because first I want to stop it from cooking, I don't want it to burn, but also I want it to cool a little bit faster. It'll cool a little faster in a new dish. So I'm going to set that aside, and I want it to cool down until it's no longer super hot before I use it in the recipe. While it's cooling, I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm also going to move to my next ingredient, which is the pecans. Our next key ingredient is pecans. You will need 1.5 cups of pecans for this recipe, and we are going to grind them or chop them super finely. Now, to make nice quick work of this, and because I like mine to be pretty fine, I'm going to chop mine in a food processor. Instead of getting out my big food processor, I like to use my little one. This is my little multi-tool. I also have an immersion blender attachment for it. It's one of my favorite handy kitchen tools. Just makes things nice and easy. So let me show you how these pecans should look. Go ahead and chop them. And I'm just pulsing things. I want to get nice fine pieces of pecans, but I don't want to grind it so much that it turns into a nut butter. So I'm doing this in batches just because I don't want to overwhelm my little food processor here. Let's take a look. These are very finely chopped. There may be some slightly larger pieces, but this is what I'm aiming for here. All right, let's do the rest. A couple that don't want to break up, but I don't want to go any further with the rest, so we'll just have some slightly larger pieces with those. Now let's start making our cake batter. You'll want a large mixing bowl, and you'll want to measure 3 cups of cake flour into your mixing bowl. We'll also add 1 cup of granulated sugar and 1 cup of firmly packed light brown sugar. For our leavening agents to give our cake the right amount of lift, we will be using 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a ½ teaspoon of baking soda, and then for flavor, we'll be using a teaspoon of salt. We'll just stir everything together or whisk everything together until it's completely combined. If you see any clumps of brown sugar, just break those up. We are combining our dry ingredients and our sugar first, and then we will be adding our butter. This is similar to the reverse creaming method. I have found it gives me the perfect crumb for this cake. And it's a little bit easier or it's a little bit harder to mess up the cake if you make it this way because it's a lot harder to accidentally overmix it. So there's some brown sugar right there. Break it up. Now we don't want to add the brown butter until it's cooled off a little bit. It should still be liquidy, and mine is slightly warm on the bottom still, but it should not feel hot. We'll go ahead and add this to our bowl. And again, I'm going to use my spatula to make sure I get every browned bit of butter in there. And while you could do this next step by hand, I prefer to use my electric hand mixer to stir the butter into the dry ingredients, plus sugar, because sugar is technically a wet ingredient. This can be a little bit stiff and dry, which is another one of the reasons I like to use an electric mixer. So I just want to go until I'm sure that there's no flour remaining or no dry ingredients that haven't been moistened by that butter. All right, let's take a peek. Just want to make sure there are no dry ingredients hiding anywhere. And this looks pretty good. As I said, stiff and dry, that's totally normal. But we're going to set this aside now, and next you are going to need some buttermilk. This is 1.5 cups of buttermilk. I've had it sitting out at room temperature for a bit because it's really best if all of your ingredients are room temperature before you incorporate them. And now I'm going to add 2 eggs, which also are room temperature. And I'm just going to add them right into this measuring cup because it's large enough for me to do so. And I'll also add 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And now, right in this measuring cup, I'm going to whisk everything together. I really want to make sure I get those egg yolks broken up, and I want all of these wet ingredients well combined. That's nicely combined. So now I'm just going to gradually drizzle this into my mixture right here. Again, this dough is pretty stiff right now. It is more like a dough than a batter, so doing this slowly with an electric mixer really helps. I'm going to make sure that's nicely incorporated. And then I'll gradually add the rest. Let's pause and scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl. I can see I still have some dry ingredients lingering in there. And we'll give it one more stir. And if you notice some small tiny lumps in your batter, don't panic, that's totally fine. Now finally, we are going to add our pecans that we chopped earlier. And we're going to stir these in until they're well incorporated. This batter smells so good. Just wait till you smell it baking in your oven. All right, now this is a 3-layer cake, so I have 3 8-inch pans. I'm just going to spray the sides with a little bit of baking spray. And then to guarantee that my cakes do not stick to the bottom of the pans, I always line the bottoms with rounds of parchment paper. And I just cut these out of parchment paper myself. It's nice and easy to do. And just divide the cake batter evenly into these 3 pans. I'm not great at doing this evenly. The batter is a bit thick, so you'll just want to use your spatula to smooth the batter into an even layer. And then we'll bake these in the center rack of our 350°F preheated oven, where they'll need to bake for about 30 minutes or until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean or with a few moist crumbs. Let the cakes cool in their pan for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then you'll want to take a knife, and just in case the cake stuck any, I like to run it around the edge of the cake just to loosen it from the pan. And then the pan will likely still be pretty hot, so I like to use oven mitts and carefully invert each cake onto a cooling rack to cool completely. And of course, because we used those parchment paper liners, they never stick. I love these cooling racks because they stack so nicely, which means they don't take up a ton of counter space while they're cooling. While the cakes are cooling, we can go ahead and prepare our frosting. For this cake, I decided on a brown sugar cream cheese frosting. It pairs beautifully with the flavor of the cake. I think you're going to love it. We are going to be using a lot of butter. You'll need 1.5 cups of softened, unsalted butter. We will also be adding 6 ounces of softened cream cheese. With any of my frostings that use cream cheese, you will want to make sure you are using a full fat cream cheese. It's traditionally sold in like a brick. Don't use low fat or your frosting will be too runny. Now what makes this frosting taste so wonderful is the brown sugar we'll be adding. You'll need a 1/3 cup of firmly packed light brown sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and then we are going to temper the sweetness just a little bit with about a 1/4, this is like a heaping 4th teaspoon of salt. You'll want to use an electric mixer now to cream everything together until it's smooth and lump free. All right, I'm going to do a quick scrape of the sides and bottom of the bowl. I want to make sure there are no lumps hiding in here. Give it another brief stir. And now we will gradually add our powdered sugar. For today's recipe, you need 4.5 cups, and we'll just add this a little bit at a time. Oh! Generally, I don't like to add that much at once. The reason being that it can be a little bit difficult to incorporate the powdered sugar quite as smoothly as I like, and because it can make a mess when we turn our mixer on, but we are gonna work with this. And I'll be more careful next time. Low speed to keep it from flying everywhere. Normally, I would add this in 4 or 5 parts. Today, it seems we're just doing 2. We'll add the rest because there's not much in there. We'll stir this in. All right, let's take a look here. Make sure we got all of that powdered sugar mixed in. Took a little bit longer and was a little bit messier than I would have liked it to be, but we still got here. All right, so the final ingredient is 1 tablespoon of heavy cream. We'll just splash that right in there, and we are going to beat this on, I start on low speed, I'll increase it to high speed, and then I'll whip it on high speed for about 20-30 seconds. All right, let's take a look. And we have a nice smooth frosting that is ready to decorate our cakes. All right, now it's very important that you make sure your cakes have cooled completely before you decorate them. Mine are nice and cool. Now, if you'd like, you can certainly level your cakes. I often do that, but as you can see, these bake up nice and flat. So with this recipe, I usually don't unless I'm really trying to make it super perfect and being really particular. Now we'll do a nice even layer of frosting on our cake. And we will repeat with our remaining layers. Now I'm really excited for you guys to see what the inside of this cake looks like. It's a little bit different from your average cake, and that is, of course, because of the addition of those finely chopped pecans. What they do is they are going to make the texture of the cake almost, I want to say crumbly, but when you hear crumbly, you probably are going to think dry. This cake is not dry. It is so moist and it's so flavorful. It just has this sort of unique, but not at all off-putting texture. You're gonna love it. Now around the cake, I usually like to do a semi-naked layer so that you can see the beautiful cake layers peeking through, and then I'll make up for that light icing there by piping some on top. So this recipe makes enough frosting so you will have enough to decorate it just like I am. So now I'm going to do my decorative piping on top. Just putting everything in a large piping bag that I have fitted with the Ateco 846 tip. All right, now ideally you would let the frosting set up a little bit before you cut in. So this might get a little bit messy, but I'm not super patient, so we're gonna go ahead and cut in right now. Let's do this. Oh yeah. All right, and take a look at that texture I was telling you about. I cannot wait till you taste this. It just melts in your mouth. And that is how you make butter pecan cake. I really hope you guys love this recipe as much as I do. It took a lot of testing, but I'm so happy with this one. If you try it out, please leave me a comment and let me know what you think. I always love hearing from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay, Luke, you came here for the important part, huh?
Yep.
You ready to taste it?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna give it to you first, and then I'm gonna try it. How is it?
Good.
It's really good, isn't it? You want some more? Yeah, me too. So our next key ingredient. I feel like I'm not saying the K. Our next key. First, plug in your mixer. Wait, oh, no, turn on your mixer. Okay, got it. At a time. Oh, or